Hello everyone. Um, in this video, I have some black construction paper and I marked out in pencil some circular shapes, some circles within circles. And I'm going to use these as stencils for my jelly plate printing. So what I do is I cut out the outer outline first. This is a good exercise for hand-to-eye coordination. For those of you with problems, especially older folks like myself, to practice your hand-to-eye coordination with something as simple as cutting pieces of paper. Now I'm going to save these. These are interesting cutout shapes. I save them for later. And these are very free-form organic shapes. Okay, I am reaching the last piece right here. There. Okay, now to cut the inside design, I'm going to use a razor blade, and this is my cutting board, which is a self-healing cutting board. Those of you who do quilts or sewing, you're very familiar with this. It's made by Fiskars, I mean, there are other brands. You can buy these in an art supply store or Joann's or sewing supplies. So let me get started with the first shape. I like to use these. These are very inexpensive, and they're about $1 a piece from the dollar store. Just exercise a little care when using these because these are very sharp, and it's easy to slip and cut yourself. So just make sure your blade is face down to the cutting board, and you apply a steady, even pressure. And it's my first shape. I may need to snap this blade off because it is kind of dull. So I will clean this off with a pair of scissors later. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just roughly following the pencil line. Okay. Sometimes when you're cutting a curved line, I do not follow exactly the curve. I just do a series of straight lines, like so. It's a little easier to handle when you just think of a curved line as a series of short straight lines. And there you go. By the way, I hope the audio for this video is a decent volume level. I am using a D7 UHF microphone, wireless microphone. One end is a receiver and the other one is a transmitter, which I have clipped onto my clothing here. The other one is clipped onto my cell phone because sometimes the built-in speaker of your cell phone is not enough to pick up voice or external sounds the way you want. So it's good to supplement the audio with external mic They are, the clip-on mics are generally called lavalier mics. Don't know if I pronounced that properly. They're kind of mics that interviewers and reporters use. You will notice on TV they have this little mic clipped onto their shirt or blouse, and that transmits the sound into the recording device. So I hope I can get my audio right, because it's pretty tricky for a beginner. Okay, this is my last piece. And so I have a whole bunch of inside, I call these a donut holes, like so. I'll save those for later. And I have a whole bunch of these rings. Okay. Let me just clean this up. This is untidy. Okay. So I will put these aside. And in a moment, I will show you how I'm going to use these rings as stencils or as masks when I do my printing. And the cool thing about these is these are reusable. I mean, not forever, but to a certain extent. And the more paint that gets on them, actually, it strengthens them. It coats it with a latex coating, so it becomes a little more sturdy. I will be back in a few minutes, and we'll start printing. Okay, everybody, I'm back, and I arranged these stencils, which I had cut earlier, and I'm going to apply this light blue. And some of this phthalo blue, just for interest. I'm going to add very small amount. See? And going to use my trusty brayers, which I had scrubbed in the sink. They're very clean. And I'm going over with a very light pressure, just to be careful not to pull the stencils off the plate. I want them to stay put. Okay, just did the top part. Now I do the bottom part. And in most of my art projects, I find that well, especially if it's a large project, it becomes more doable if you divide your project into small pieces, like in little increments, and it makes it a little more less intimidating. Okay, and note to myself, I have to take the stencils off. I don't want to repeat my mistake last time. So I'm going to prepare a spot here. This is a dining table which I found on the street, so I have no bad feelings about using it as a printing table. Okay, just carefully peel this off. If you notice, the shapes are very nice and clean because the construction paper it's a good thickness. It's not too thin, it's not too thick. Because if it was too thin, it would just fall apart. And we don't want that. We want it to stay in one piece. This is a little tricky here. I just ripped it. There we go. There. Now, just going to make sure I have keep my hands clean so I don't make a mess all over my printing paper. So I'm going to get my piece that I had printed earlier today. Oh, was it yesterday? So it's this piece. And again, I like I said earlier, I never know exactly how it's going to look, but there's only one way to find out, is to just go ahead and do it. So here goes. Putting it in the registration marks and applying even pressure. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, so far so good. So where the stencil is, where the stencil was, you see the design from underneath, and that's what I was after. Very cool. I like this. Here's the print right side up, and you see now why it's important to land on the registration marks. So the design always lands in the same place, so you get a consistent result. Okay, I am going to put this aside to dry, and I will use this on my second print, which is this one. I already applied the collage elements yesterday, so I'm going to apply this on top of this. Let's see. There we go. I have to say, after going through art school and studying printmaking for a couple of years, this is the cheapest form of printing without a printing press, because in my school days, a printing press cost a fortune, and they're about as big as a car, and they weigh a ton, and they occupy half the room. So living in a small apartment, that's not an option. So this is the next best thing. I'm very happy with this printing process. And let's see what we got. Oh, it did transfer somewhat. I like that. It gives the print a little more depth. Here is the design right side up. I don't know if you can see this. I think it's pretty cool. And I like these indentations here. Gives it a little more interest. I like the contrast between the light blue and the bright red. It vibrates, and in a lot of my work, I like to pick certain colors. When you put them next to each other, they start to vibrate and gives it some life. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration of printmaking with stencils. And these are your own stencils, which you make yourself. You don't have to go out and buy them. I mean, you can if you want to. I find that ready-made stencils are, well, first of all, they're expensive. And secondly, you will tend to see the same design over and over again. And if you make them yourself, you make them your own. And they're unique. Thanks for watching.